Hey, I'm Dagny, and in this video, I am so excited to share with you that I finally have a podcast. Okay, so if you want to just check it out immediately, there's a link in the description box, and I'm so excited, yay. Now, let's get into the details of how this came to be. Okay, so once upon a time, in the beginning, before the land before time, I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while. And you who've been watching or have been with me on YouTube for a while have been repeatedly telling me, girl, where is your podcast? We love your voice. We love your knowledge. Like who needs who, where, why, how, where's your podcast? Somebody get this girl on a podcast. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I agree with you. Yes. And so I've been researching how to do podcasts, what goes into streaming, what goes into equipment, what goes into the formula of like how people are even telling stories on podcasts. And I think one of the things that, I don't want to say like held me back, but one of the things that would kind of make me pause and be like, why am I doing this? Or like, where are we going? Is that I had yet to figure out what I wanted to do the podcast on, or like what I want to talk about in the podcast. And when I would share, or like when I would ask, oh, wait, hold on. Of course, I'm wearing Bandole Muse bangles and Bandole Muse earrings, both available right now at bandolemuse.com, my shop. Check it out. There also is a link for you to go and check it out. So when I would ask some people who would note, you should have a podcast, I would ask like, thank you. I agree with you. What should it be on? What should I be talking about? And the answer usually would be like, anything, or the answer usually was like, we just love hearing your voice. So you might as well you could be reading the alphabet. We don't mind. We'll just listen to it. And I'm like, thank you so much for the love. I do appreciate that. But looking at how much time and effort it takes to be putting podcasts up, that's not really going to work. And the other thing I was noting is that I did not want to just strip the audio from my video content and put that as a podcast. I know other people do that. No offense to them. Do you boo-boo? It works for them. But for me, I wanted the podcast to be a different experience. Like anything I choose to pour my brilliance into. If you don't already know, I'm somebody who I'd be pouring in like 2000%. Like it needs to be epic. It needs to be fabulous. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be aligned with a bigger picture. It needs to be impactful. It needs to be juicy. It needs to be magical. Like it needs to be cosmic. Like, yes, it can't be basic. So I knew that because I felt this interest and inspiration, I knew that the right opportunity or the right circumstances will align when it's supposed to. Another layer to how we got to this point of now we finally have a podcast is back when I was in university, I did campus radio. And as one of my extracurricular activities outside of classes. And I did news as well as music. And I was so into it. Like I enjoyed it so much. I learned as much as I could from the equipment to the software to how my own voice, how to use my own voice, and trying all kinds of different programming, I guess, within the shows I was doing. And at that time, I really was like, yo, broadcast is my thing. Like, this is going to be my thing. Like, I got this. This is my gift. I love it. And as you may have already learned, life is full with a lot of interesting things, including rejection. And at that time, I was receiving a lot more rejections than opportunities. But I do not carry that as an enemy of progress, because we do not place ourselves as a victim in our own life stories. Thank you very much. So I just continued creating my own opportunities. Again, understanding that this is my gift. I'm into this. So I understand eventually things will align the way they need to. Then, a few years ago, myself and my sister spent some extra quality time unexpectedly and discovered that we have really juicy, intellectually stimulating, imaginatively enticing, funny conversations. We both are, of course, completely individuals who have different personalities. I'm more introverted, she's more extroverted, but among other things. But one of multiple other common threads that we have is we both individually are always absorbing knowledge and perspectives and stories and experiences and constantly connecting the dots, constantly evolving our own perspectives with self-awareness. And so when we get together to have a conversation, it's this really beautiful collaboration where we're both holding space for each other to express ourselves, to evolve, to learn, and to teach, and to share. And at that time, we were starting to feel this like, wait a minute, this could be the podcast. Like we might just have it. But timing, scheduling, commitment, and interest was not matching at the time. Then, last year, my sister approached me and took note that she really wants us to do this. And she's already created some topics that she wants us to discuss. She's already researched what it takes to do a podcast. She's actually interested and committed and contributing brain power to the endeavor. And here's the thing. When you got somebody like me in your life, okay, when you approach me like that, like, wow, I got this idea. I've already committed to it. I've already contributed to it. And I know we need to build this spaceship. I'm like, bet. I already got some of the equipment in my underground laboratory. Let's go. Okay. So I was very excited. And so we did it. Last year, we recorded our first season, which is about 14 episodes between the months of October through December. And then we had to come up with a name. You would think that we would, come up with the name immediately. We didn't. We thought maybe it will happen while we were recording the videos. It did not. So some time passed, a few months passed earlier this year. And then finally, a month or so ago, we agreed to the name. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce to you my podcast, Curious and Cultured, hosted by me and my sister, Damali. And in this podcast, we are discussing and unpacking the nuances and experiences, the shared nuances and experiences of life. And our intention with this podcast is to create a safe space for you listening to take ownership of your evolution, individually and collectively, and to celebrate your own unique and weird brilliance, and to even indulge in new perspectives, even different perspectives, to complement your own. We're bringing the fun, we're bringing the humor, we're bringing culture, we're bringing history, we're sprinkling in vulnerability, sprinkling in self-awareness. And it's just a really beautiful, fun, and insightful experience. I'm so very grateful to have this opportunity to create and collaborate with my sister. Not only was it fun, but it was a really lovely bonding experience. I'm also really grateful for this opportunity to share this with you. This is part of my gift, and being able to explore the flexibilities of that through different mediums is really fun and exciting for me as we continue to experiment. And I've noted, like, this chapter in my life, I'm more inspired to create projects that feel bigger. Like, yes, they take more time to create. So there's not a daily update or a weekly update happening, but it feels more meaningful. And then because they are bigger, it takes more time to consume, or it takes more time to indulge in and savor, because you can come back and forth and experience it as many times as you want. And I really like that for me. I'm enjoying the process. So right now, the podcast is currently available to stream on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, and the podcast or Spotify page, which used to be Anchor. I've also put it up to Google Podcast, but it hasn't populated or processed yet. So I might have to troubleshoot that. I thought I did the RSS feed properly, but I'll definitely give you an update once that's there. So you can check those out there. I've also put a link so you can check it out too directly. I will also be posting a blog post for every episode because SEO, hello, so obviously. I'm going to include our first episode, just the audio, obviously, in this video so you can hear it here. This first episode is about Beyonce's Renaissance album. And we are discussing not only our takeaways from listening to the album, but also discussing her artistry, her work ethic, the evolution of her impact, and how her and her team, in particular with this project, navigated sensitivities, censorship, queerness, and messaging in this era we're in when it comes to information and entertainment. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you in terms of what you think of the episode, what you think of the show, adding your perspectives so we can continue the conversation as always. And I'll definitely also give you updates. Other things are finalizing in terms of where should we go. In particular, where should we go to discuss the episodes once they're posted? I'm still figuring that out. So if you have any suggestions of where you think is the best place for us to do that, let me know. So here is the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being you. And I really appreciate you. Take care. Be safe. I'll see you next time.
Beyonce's newest album.
On our very first episode of this podcast on a beautiful, beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Yes, beautiful.
All right, so let's talk about Beyonce Renaissance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the first part we're going to focus on just the album itself.
Mm-hmm.
Speak about what we love. Speak about what we want more of.
Yes.
And what spoke to us. All right. Mm-hmm. So Damali, you go ahead and tell us, share with us in your own words. What do you feel about Beyonce Renaissance?
Yeah, I think this is a really powerful album. I think she definitely is in a new, a new phase of growth. And yeah, I mean, it took me a while to get used to the album because it's very different from her older things. And I had to listen to it a couple times for it to really, normally with earlier Beyonce albums, every single song I listened to without a single skip. Whereas this one I was kind of I don't know which ones are my, my favorite ones. But I definitely, it took some listens, but it got better. I think she's even singing about things that she doesn't always sing about. Yeah, and she's definitely in a different phase kind of thing. I'm trying to think of my favorite songs. I love Cozy. I love Cozy. Cozy's a great one about being comfortable in your skin, you know who you are, kind of thing. I felt that.
I love myself, goddamn.
Yes.
Cozy.
Yeah, that was a good one. And yeah, overall, I definitely love listening to this album in the car, more than just on my computer, because you can hear more of the beats and everything, and she used a lot of different influences and things like that in the album. Yeah, so Beyonce is still here, and she's here to stay, and she's she's at a point in her life where she can do whatever she needs to do. She's already made her name. She's done what she had to do. So yeah, that's my first thoughts.
I like that.
Of the album,
I think I agree, or I definitely resonate with some of that too, where I didn't really know what to expect out of this first album. And I remember hearing the first single and was like, oh, wow. So we're doing Vogue House 90s vibe over here. I'm like looking for the high shoulder pad blazer type vibe sort of thing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was like the direction we were going in. Because I had yet to even listen to the new stuff that was coming from Drake, because I think they both started. It was around the same time. And so I remember on Twitter, people were like, oh, this house thing is like what they're both doing or something. It's like, oh, I didn't hear that one. So I don't know what anyone's talking about, but it's fine. And then the deal of rolling it out online, like on YouTube, on this deal of like, you can take your time and listen to like the single as well as all the remixes and stuff.
Exactly, yes.
And I think I appreciated that, because it got me to, I think it gave me the chance to appreciate the music even more. Because I too had to listen to it a couple of times to start really getting into it. The first listen through of the album, I was like, it's okay. I'm not sure, but whatever. It's different, but we'll see. And then I was like, okay, definitely through the first listen, I could also be like, okay, there's like 5 of them I really love. Which, yes, is Cuff It, Cozy, Plastic on the Couch or the Sofa.
Oh, Plastic on the Sofa. Yes. Love that. And the runs in that.
Yes, yes. As well as Move. Love that one too. And then after listening to some more, I'm like, you know what? I also love Alien Superstar. I'm also loving Virgo's Groove.
It's like all these ones.
And then I'm also, and then eventually it's like, actually the whole album, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And then the only one is the I Want to Be in Your Mind or something. That one I find a little noisy for me.
Yeah, I think that I love the Thoughty Girl one, or the Church Girl. I love the meaning of it and everything, but I don't know if it's my favorite song. So it's kind of a little bit noisy.
So, but I do like the fusion of some stuff is radio play of like what's happening or what's been played now.
Yeah.
But also incorporating, I'm loving the fusion of incorporating influences of 90s music, 80s music.
Yes, everything.
Influences, and particular instrumentation, which I think we have not heard in terms of mainstream. I think with independent artists, we're hearing more of that. But mainstream at that level, to be hearing tracks that are not all electronic instruments.
Exactly. Like we heard real instruments.
Like you can tell that this is a real person playing these drums. There's a real person doing the horns and all of that. So there's more soul in it, even if the music itself is not soul. And I also like that she really has quite a few, like a variety of genres in one album. I don't think you can claim it's just a pop album or just an R&B album, which I think is awesome as well. What else?
I think part of the reason why it was hard for me to get so into this album is that like her last one had me in like a chokehold. Like
the
Lion King, the Black Parade, right?
Yes, and
Lemonade, and like it was so different from her usual stuff, and it was just like that. Like every song, I was like, "Yes, girl, yes," So, and it's been a while since we've heard from her,
right?
So,
it
was nice to just kind of, I guess we talk about the first time we heard this album. I think I'd woken up or something. I was in bed or something, and I heard that she had dropped it. So I just listened to it on YouTube. But I think at first I was listening to like it, and obviously it always sounds different in YouTube with the quality and everything.
Right.
But that was the first time I listened to it, and I was like, okay. And I read the words. I'm like, okay, interesting. All right. So where were you when you first?
When I was first listening to it, I think I first heard about it. Well, I was somewhat anticipating, really because of Twitter. So people started taking note of like, oh, she tweeted out, and there's this mystery box and stuff, like this sort of thing, which I thought was really cool or really cute to do a rollout like this, because it kind of brought back nostalgia of what artists were doing some decades ago, where merchandise was so big with each album, as opposed to, well, since everything's streaming and digital, I'll just let you know, go stream it because it's out. Exactly. But this deal of like trying to build anticipation that we're all going to purchase a CD, even though none of us even have CD players anymore, but we're all anticipating to purchase the CD. So I thought that was really cool. So it was, I think that happened when, I don't know if that was shortly after the first single Break My Soul came out. So that is when I was listening to that on YouTube and took note of like, oh, I'm liking it. So I was playing that song quite a lot here.
Yes.
And I really, I enjoyed it. I did. And I like how the lyrics, like, it will always let you know that this is post-pandemic or after the big part of the pandemic, because she mentions the mask. So she mentions, she mentions those sorts of things.
Talks about those
in the lyrics of like, you don't have how we act outside. You need to keep your mask on, which you will only know if you were around the early 2020s. It's part of history. Right? It's like now because Beyonce put it in, it is now officially part of history. The stamp is there, which will be in the Library of Congress. I don't know, 100 years from now. No, because that's important. That's important for history.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my first deal. And then I definitely then went into, it got me also going into YouTube mixes of 90s house music kind of thing because of the Break My Soul single. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also I liked what she did with her voice, like the vocal acrobatics, the melismas, the runs, the things that we haven't heard, like from her other albums, we didn't hear them, or we used to hear about a lot more, I think more in the beginning. And so I like how she like experimented a lot more with those like different like melisma runs, vibrato, the falsetto, all these little things she did with her voice. And I was like, okay, B, we haven't, because there was a moment where she was more into like kind of like rapping more and in a different.
Run me my check.
Yeah.
Pay me in equity.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And now we have like a lot of like, especially like Plastic on the Sofa, and that was a Virgo's Groove also, I think, where she's all up and down and everything. And it's just like, and her voice is, obviously her voice has grown so much. Like if you listen to her, you listened to her when she first came out of Destiny's Child and then to now, it's like, whoa, the growth is just, it's awesome to hear. I'm like, okay, B. Okay, Queen B. Right. Yeah.
So in terms of Renaissance and comparing that to the rest of her previous albums, how would you think that, how does this define the evolution of the artist Beyonce, you would say? Looking at her catalog, like, starting from
before and where she's grown to now. Yeah.
In terms of the types of music, what she's talking about in her songs, things like that.
I definitely think her goal is different now. I think in the beginning it was more like, you have to do things a certain way and keep a certain kind of, I guess, like status quo sort of thing. Like when you're starting out to, put your foot in the door and make sure you stay there and let people know I'm here to stay and that's it kind of thing. And I feel like it was very different. Whereas now I think she's like, hey, I've been here. I've done this. Like this album is kind of like, I'm doing my own thing completely and I don't care what you guys have to say and things like that. And just feeling very, I guess more like free and showing more of her, I think we're seeing more of her truer self. And I know like in the past, she didn't always, in her music, she didn't always directly like talk about her haters, I guess you would say, or what people say about her. Normally she kind of just didn't really, she's one to not respond to that. So whereas in this new album, she's like, hey, I'm here, I have a problem with it. Oh, well, I'm going to do what I got to do. And that's it. And like, and she even mentions too, which I guess is kind of like with the pandemic situation where like the things that you took for granted are more important now. Because I think, in one of the, I don't know, it was Virgo's Groove or one of them, where she says we don't have time like we used to kind of thing. And like, I think the world's judgment on us is too harsh on us, something like that. So let's just just be the only people that matter are the people close to you, not like the whole world who has something to say about you kind of thing, which I think is very, which I don't think in older albums she was as kind of like open about that kind of stuff that she discussed about. If I'm, we have to go and listen to all of her songs to see, wait, did she have that? Was that her angle before? I think her angle has definitely changed, so that's what I would say about that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that's a perfect segue to also be talking about making statements through, or making impact or statements through her music and her art.
Yeah.
Or how artists do that. Because I feel like there's from the outside looking in, I would like to feel like this was the plan from the beginning.
Yeah.
When she started at 5 years old,
exactly.
Kind of thing. Of like the first half of her catalog, from Crazy in Love to Deja Vu to Single Ladies to et cetera, et cetera. The vibe was the vibe tended to be more of like, this is about love, it's about dancing, it's about empowerment of like, I'm the best,
do what I gotta do.
I'm the best, I'm flawless, I'm a diva, I got this. It's like anthems type of thing, I guess, for everyone really. And a lot of radio play and a lot of, to a point of a lot of like, you're setting the trends, but still maintaining, kind of conforming to what the trends were portrayed for that time.
Yeah.
While the last few that you mentioned, starting with Lemonade, and then going on to Black Parade and The Lion King.
Doing your own thing.
It just sounds like there's more ownership.
Yes.
With it. I think all of it technically was authentic, but I think authentic for the business, authentic for the bottom line.
Yeah.
While these last few seem to be more authentic of like, because I've paid my dues, I can now also speak like, I am blackity black and unapologetically just going to say it as the way I want to.
Exactly.
While not being petty about it or not being like not taking away from the artistry and the brilliance and the perfectionist that we know of her as an artist and like the rest of her team and stuff like that. So I think that is an awesome blueprint in navigating or trying to navigate a business that really needs people to be in this particular box.
Exactly.
And if you do anything else, we either cut you off or ruin your reputation or just pull you out. And her being able to maintain relevance and drop an album when she wants to, drop this when she wants to, drop that when she wants to, because she actually owns it. Because you built it up so you can actually own it, is a real testament to her and her team and her family, whoever else is actually
figured out what to do.
Yeah, whoever is the one in charge of doing all of that. It's really awesome and inspiring, really, and to see that you can do that in this
you
business.
can survive in this cutthroat industry and not lose your soul.
Exactly, yeah, and still make a relevant impact, not just be a puppet the entire time.
Exactly.
So I think that's awesome. Yeah. Now, in terms of the messaging for Renaissance itself,
yes,
because it's a lot of house music, inspiration and influences. A lot of other conversations were coming up about queerness, and some of the lyrics are taking note to kind of tip a hat to queerness, or even mention her uncle who was queer. So with that, I felt this is awesome because I love the way at least is the way I interpret it when I'm listening to her music or seeing the way in which they're doing slowly, gradually putting out visuals or other types of things for the album. I love how like the queerness conversation has been around for a bit, and mostly in the US, and then gradually in like other parts of the world in different ways, because everyone's cultures are very different when it comes to this particular topic. And I love how in the way she's put it out there, it doesn't feel like you're just on the rainbow flag bandwagon. Yeah. Because it's trending, or that this is just a token queer thing and then move on. It felt more like you're making even more of an impact on the conversation because you're bringing in the fact that let's not forget that the pop culture references, the US pop culture references to queerness is a Black thing, or originally was created by Black people, from the drag race, from the Vogue dancing, the music, the parties, all of that is a Black thing that should be celebrated, which in the queer conversations as of recently, you don't see that celebrated as much. You see the caricatures of it being celebrated by other people who don't look like that at all. So for her to be able to bring that to the conversation without blatantly just stating, y'all need to put some more Black people here. Like just instead of doing that, it's like, no, I'm going to collaborate with all these artists who already were doing that decades ago and have them on the track with me, sort of deal. And sample certain people who were not celebrated then to be celebrated now, to get you to be inspired enough to go find their work and listen to their music or check out their video or their movie and discover for yourself how there's like a whole genre and a whole community of people who've been doing this for a very long time. Before there was a rainbow flag, before there was a drag race or something, before it was trendy for everybody to claim they're queer. No offense, but some of y'all just be doing it because it's trendy right now.
Yes, and not necessarily
because that's really what your lifestyle is. And so I think that's an awesome way to utilize one's platform. In terms of you're not putting yourself out there to be like, I'm the expert, you should listen to me and what I think about queerness, or all of a sudden she's coming out. It's like, no, it's just like, no, this is something y'all should like just think about and talk about. So I'm just going to put it in the music, and I don't really need to say anything else, because just listen to the music and interpret it as you want to, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I love that about that.
I agree. She goes deeper than just like the surface of it kind of thing. And I think that just like with her Instagram, no caption. I feel like that's you can say as a metaphor way in her music is also no caption. It's like, this is the information and you do with it what you please. She's not telling you how to interpret the information. She's not telling you what opinion you should have. She's not telling you you're wrong or you're right or whatever. She's just like, here's the stuff. Here's some information that you might not know of. Do with it what you will. And I think that's the best way to like inspire people, because someone's just telling someone to do something or making people feel bad. Like, it's like, oh, if you don't feel the same way that I do about gay people or queerness, then there's something wrong with you. Like, or everyone has to have a similar opinion kind of thing. Whereas Beyonce is very much like, you know what, this is my thing. This is what I know about it. And you go do what you have to do to get yourself to know what you need to know, kind of thing. And it's like not just like the surface. There's no flag. Like, I mean, if you look at the album, it's, there's no rainbows, and nothing wrong with rainbows, but it's like she doesn't need rainbows or any of these things to show that this is what I'm talking about, and queerness is in the conversation. And it's not like queerness in the sense that like, oh, it's just like it's about queerness, but also everyone can say something in this conversation. It's not just, oh, if you're not queer, you can't talk. It's like, no, like, and for Beyonce, it's like and she's not doing a thing where pretending to be queer or doing things like that some people might sometimes do. She's married. I'm married with, with my 3 kids and everything, but I still have information about, queerness. And I like the way she puts it like in the music, without trying to like direct people or tell them what to do. So, yeah. So, deep stuff, Beyonce, deep stuff. Yes.
And also, I love the duality of queerness.
Yeah.
In terms, like in the music, as well as the conversations I've been seeing of like, queerness is, yes, one aspect of it, one definition of it is queerness dealing with your gender identity, your sexual preferences and things like that. But there's also queerness of choosing in any aspect of your life or any aspect of your existence to push against conventional, or push against traditional, or push against anything that's just always been. That is also an aspect of queerness that is being spoken of or represented, I feel, in the music and the conversation as well.
Yeah. And it's all she doesn't even give interviews anymore. Like, it's all in the music, So then, speaking of not giving interviews in the music, what about like what we have now been learning through the Beyonce blueprint? Okay. Navigating sensitivity and censorship. So like when the album came out, there was, we're complaining about the lyrics because there was a particular term there that apparently is derogatory to people who are disabled, I think was the issue or something. I think that was the thing they brought up. Okay, yeah. And what did she do about that? Said nothing. And boom, just drop the new version without the word in it and keep it moving. Exactly. Just removed it. Didn't even say no press conference, no interview. Just, you don't like it. Okay. Boop.
That's an issue for someone. Fine. Done.
Yeah.
And I think that's an awesome way to, in terms of navigating this era that we're in, where we believe we have this illusion of access to everything.
Yeah.
But then also can be quite ignorant about everything at the same time.
Exactly.
So, because usually what we've seen when someone comes out with a piece of work, whether it's music, a stand-up comedy, a movie, a picture, a video game, and it all, as usual, there is something about it that is derogatory towards a certain group. And that group comes up. And usually what happens is the artist will come up to defend their right to be derogatory against that group. Well, I wasn't really thinking about you, so it's not derogatory because I wasn't thinking about you. And it's like, but that's not the point of this. Well, isn't it free speech, or isn't it this? Or, I mean, it's my creativity. Obviously, you're not the target market, so you don't need to, you're not the target audience, so you shouldn't listen to it. You know, like, that's not the point. So I liked how this one of like, actually, the point is this is the music and it's for you to listen to. If there's something that made it uncomfortable, it doesn't take anything away from you to just remove that one word. So just remove it and keep it moving. Like, it doesn't take away. It's not
that big of a.
Does not, because when you do the other part, it takes away from your work, actually. Because now the conversation
with everyone about.
The conversation is all about whether or not you have an issue with disabled people because you have this one word in it, kind of thing. So I think that is a nice. I think that is a cool way to set up the foundation of how do you navigate sensitivities without pretending as if, well, it's just because you're too sensitive and that's the problem. It's like, no, actually, we could be considerate about everybody, actually. And maybe then eventually we'll stop creating words that are derogatory towards groups. So then there won't be an issue of having them anywhere. Accidentally dropping them in different places.
Yeah. She definitely is one to learn from, for sure, kind of thing, with people in the industry. Like that is one way to deal with stuff. We're like, oh, you have an issue with this? Okay, move this. There's not some huge hoopla about how some, like, oh, here's my hour-long interview or my, I don't know how long Twitter things
videos are. I think it's like 4 minutes
about talking about Beyonce. It's like, oh, okay, have an issue with it. Okay, boom. That's it. You know? Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's our good rough draft for our first podcast. I think.
And to wrap up, how would we like to end our podcasts?
That's the thing. This was the vibe. Thanks for coming out. I've already made up my name. Not even the name yet.
You don't want it.
Okay, let's not. Well, maybe we could use It's Giving at the end and then something else.
Ooh, I like that.
But maybe not the title.
Right.
But just,
but that's our little ringer thing.
It's Giving Beyonce.
Right. It's giving Renaissance. It's giving brilliance. It's giving, It's giving I'm the bar. It's giving category sexy bitch. Like, it's giving. It's giving what it needs to give.
You probably shouldn't do it for a whole hour.
She understood the assignment.
She did. Beyonce has understood the assignment.
Yes.
She's like, hey, this is where I
overall
stand.
Yes. And so looking forward to the visuals. I know her music. The music videos are going to be on point. I'm looking forward to the choreography they're going to put to these stuff, you know?
TikTok's already ready to
exactly. And then also if she, I don't even know, will she even do a tour? Like, does Beyonce in the 2020s actually do concerts, or will it be some metaverse virtual vibe?
Yeah, they're doing a lot more than metaverse stuff.
I'm just gonna be. Would she be over there? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see.
But, overall, I think that album is cool. Except for one or two songs, I'm like, okay. I listened to a couple times, and it really makes you. And then also reading her booklet. I guess I sent that to you, the booklet from her album.
I mean, we were wrapping up and now you're bringing up another topic.
I don't know. I was just saying I read about it and she talked a bit about herself and about the album.
Wow, that's true. It would have been nice if you brought the book.
That's true.
That would have been
next time. We could have read it if you'd find somewhere.
Exactly. All right.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we're ending for now.
We are ending now. It's giving what it needs to give. It understood the assignment.
October 2nd, 2022,
baby. The
Libra season.
It does though, because Libra's all about beauty and putting yourself out there and the balance. Yes, girl. All right. And that is the end of our first episode.
Thank you for coming. Vibes only.
Yes. Okay.